Have you ever felt something deep in your heart, like someone was trying to speak to you, right in the silence? Maybe it happened during a quiet night, or when you were crying alone, and suddenly peace filled the room. What if that moment wasn't just your imagination? What if it was God? Today, you're going to hear a true story. A story that might sound unbelievable until you realize God still speaks. He doesn't always speak with thunder or lightning. Sometimes it's a whisper, a message sent through a stranger, a song, even a YouTube video like this one. Stay with me until the end, because maybe, just maybe, this is the moment he chooses to speak to you. If you believe God still speaks, comment below, I believe. Let's share our faith together. When God seems far away, there are moments in life when silence becomes louder than words. Not the silence of a quiet room, but the silence of prayer that feels unanswered. The silence of a heart that's been calling out to heaven and hearing nothing back. This is where Anna found herself. She had always believed in God. She grew up reading the Bible, praying with her parents, attending church every Sunday. But now at 26, her world had collapsed. Her mother had died suddenly in a car accident. Her fiancé had left just a month before their wedding. And her savings, everything she had worked for, was gone in a medical scam. Anna was broken. She tried to pray, but the words wouldn't come. She opened her Bible, but the pages looked empty. Worship music, sermons, devotionals, none of it touched her anymore. She felt like heaven had shut the door, locked it, and thrown away the key. God, where are you? One night, she sat on her floor, surrounded by unopened bills and shattered dreams. Rain tapped on the windows. The only light in the room came from her phone screen. She looked up at the ceiling and whispered, God, are you still there? Or did you forget about me? Her voice cracked. Why don't you answer? I've done everything right. I believed. I prayed. I served. But now nothing. No thunder. No light. No comfort. Just silence. She stared into the dark, and for the first time in her life, she wondered if God had ever truly spoken to her at all. The struggle within. The days passed. Anna started avoiding church, avoiding friends, smiling just enough to hide the sadness in her eyes. People would say things like, you just need more faith. Maybe it's part of God's plan. Just pray harder. But none of it helped. If anything, it made her feel worse, like her pain was her fault, like her silence from God was punishment for something. Inside, she started to believe a lie. Maybe God speaks to others, but not to me. Still, every night before bed, she would whisper, if you still speak, Lord, I'm listening. Please say something. And every night, she heard nothing in return, a different kind of voice. But here's the thing about God. Just because he's silent doesn't mean he's absent. And just because we don't hear him doesn't mean he's not speaking. Sometimes God speaks through silence itself, through the waiting, through the breaking. He doesn't always give answers right away, because sometimes the answer is being formed inside of us. And Anna, though she didn't know it, was being shaped. Her tears were watering something deeper. Her pain was softening a place in her soul that had grown proud. Her desperation was turning into surrender. God hadn't left her. He was closer than ever. But he was teaching her to listen, not just with her ears, but with her heart. The unexpected message. It had been almost 2 months since Anna felt anything spiritual. Her heart was dry, her mind numb. But still, every night, one small prayer remained. God, if you still speak, I'm listening. She didn't know why she kept praying it. Maybe out of habit, maybe out of hope, or maybe something deeper. A whisper of faith she didn't realize was still alive. Then one evening, something strange happened. She was scrolling on her phone, aimlessly watching random videos. None of them meant anything, until she paused on one. It wasn't a sermon. It wasn't even a Christian channel. It was a short story about someone who had nearly given up, but chose to hold on because of a small sign from God. At the end of the video, the speaker looked directly into the camera and said, "This message is for someone who feels forgotten. You are not alone. God has not stopped speaking. He's just waiting for you to be still. Anna froze. She replayed that line. God has not stopped speaking. He's just waiting for you to be still. Her breath caught in her chest. Tears filled her eyes. Could this really be for her? The cracked heart. Anna began crying, not because the video was dramatic, but because she realized something had happened. For the first time in months, she felt seen. She felt heard. She felt loved. Maybe God hadn't spoken with a voice. Maybe he hadn't answered the way she wanted. But maybe he had been answering all along, in the silence, in the waiting, in the strange video that felt too perfect to be random. She remembered the words of Psalm 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Was this what it meant? That even in her crushed state, God had been close? Small signs, big meaning. Over the next few days, little things kept happening. A friend she hadn't spoken to in months suddenly messaged her, "I've been thinking about you." I felt like God wanted me to reach out. Her devotional app, which she hadn't opened in weeks, sent a notification. God still speaks. Be still and listen. And then, while walking home one afternoon, she passed by a church. A banner outside read, "Feeling forgotten? God is still speaking." Anna stopped in her tracks. It was no longer a coincidence. She wasn't chasing signs. She wasn't begging for miracles, but they kept coming. Whispers, reminders, moments. They didn't fix everything. Her grief didn't vanish. Her life didn't suddenly become easy, but her heart was shifting, softening, healing. She had gone from silence to signals, and those signals told her God still speaks, and he hadn't forgotten her. Learning to listen, Anna sat at the park, notebook in hand. It had become her new habit. Sit, breathe, listen, not for voices, not for signs, just to be still. And in the stillness, something changed. She didn't hear words from heaven, but she began to notice what she used to overlook. The sound of the wind gently brushing through the trees, the laughter of a child running by, the warmth of the sun on her skin, and a peace not loud but steady began to grow inside her. It was as if God had been waiting for her to stop trying to control everything and simply learn to be with him. The distraction trap. Looking back, Anna realized something powerful. She hadn't stopped hearing God because he stopped speaking. She had stopped hearing him because she had been surrounded by noise. Not just the noise of sound, but the noise of stress, worry, grief, comparison, and guilt. She had filled her days with motion, trying to fix everything, trying to stay strong, trying to avoid pain. And in all that rushing, she had no space to listen. God's voice isn't always in the earthquake or the fire. Sometimes it's in the gentle whisper, the one that only silence can carry. Anna remembered 1 Kings 19, verse 12, when Elijah stood waiting for God's voice. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. And when Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face. You might be missing his voice too. If you're watching this and thinking, I haven't heard from God in a long time, ask yourself gently, have I made room for his voice? Am I listening with my heart or just with my ears? Have I been distracted by the pain, the pressure, the busyness? God doesn't always shout. He speaks through moments, through scriptures, through people, through quiet, through videos like this. He speaks when we stop. He speaks when we're broken. He speaks when we finally say, God, not my will, but yours. And that's what Anna was finally learning. The beginning of a new kind of faith. Anna's faith didn't come back in a flash of light. It came back slowly in pieces. But now it was deeper, not based on emotion, not dependent on circumstances. She began praying again, not to get something, but just to connect. She began journaling, not for answers, but to remember the small ways God still showed up. She went back to church, not for people, but to sit in God's presence. And most of all, she began living with this truth. God still speaks, but I must be still enough to hear him. Becoming the voice for someone else. A few weeks later, Anna was sitting in a small cafe with a friend she hadn't seen in a long time, Maya. Maya looked exhausted. Her eyes were puffy, her shoulders heavy, her coffee untouched. Anna listened as Maya shared. I don't even know why I came. I'm tired of pretending. I feel like God has forgotten me. I pray, but I get nothing back. Anna felt her heart ache. Those were the exact same words she had spoken not long ago. This time, she didn't offer advice. She didn't try to fix it. She simply reached across the table, held Maya's hand, and said, I know exactly how that feels. I was there, and if I can be honest, sometimes I still feel that way. But something changed when I stopped demanding answers and started listening for presence. Maya looked at her with tears forming. You felt that too? Anna nodded. Yes. And one day, out of nowhere, God reminded me that he had been speaking all along. I just couldn't hear him through the noise. The power of shared pain. That conversation didn't solve Maya's problems. It didn't fix her situation. But something shifted, because for the first time, she felt seen. Not judged, not rushed, but understood. And sometimes that's how God speaks, through people who've walked through the fire and come out carrying light. Anna didn't quote scriptures or preach a sermon. She just shared her story. And in doing so, she became part of Maya's healing. She became the voice that Anna herself had once needed, the full circle. That night, as Anna walked home, she smiled for the first time in a while. She whispered quietly, Thank you, God, not just for speaking to me, but for letting me speak for you. It was full circle. The silence that once felt like abandonment had become a place of transformation. And now it was a testimony. Her pain had become purpose. Her quiet had become a voice. Her brokenness had become a bridge for someone else. And isn't that what God does best? He takes our ashes and makes beauty. He takes what was once dead and brings it to life. What if you're the one he wants to use? Friend, if you're watching this and you felt like Anna, if you cried out and heard nothing, if you're in a long silence and wonder if God even remembers your name, please listen. He sees you, he knows, and he is still speaking. Maybe not in the way you expected, maybe not with a loud voice, but through moments, people, scriptures, and yes, even this video. And maybe, just maybe, he wants to use you one day to speak to someone else too. When God is silent, he's still working. Here's the truth. God's silence doesn't mean he's ignoring you. It often means he's preparing you. Think of the seed in the soil. For a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. No movement, no breakthrough, just darkness. But underground, the roots are forming. Life is beginning. The silence is sacred. That's how God works too. He often speaks after the breaking, during the waiting, and through the healing. So, if you're in a silent season, don't give up. Keep showing up. Keep praying. Keep listening. Keep trusting. He is not done with you yet. Your story isn't over. Like Anna, you might feel forgotten. You might think your prayers are going nowhere. But just as she discovered, the silence was never the end of her story. It was the beginning of something deeper. God still speaks. And if you keep your heart open, you'll begin to hear him in ways you never imagined. Through a message, through a friend, through a small whisper that feels too personal to be coincidence. He speaks through his word. He speaks through your tears. He speaks even in silence, because your story is not over. And God still writes the best endings. Faith that moves. This channel is called Faith That Moves for a reason, because sometimes faith isn't loud. It's not perfect. It's not confident. Sometimes faith is just whispering amen through tears. Sometimes it's saying, I believe, even when you don't feel anything. But that small faith, it moves mountains. It opens hearts. It invites miracles. So, wherever you are in your journey, hold on to that mustard seed of faith. It's enough. God is still speaking. And one day, you'll look back and see, he was never silent. He was simply waiting for the right moment to speak. Let's talk in the comments. Now we want to hear from you. If you believe God still speaks, type in the comments, God is still speaking and I'm listening. Or tell us, how has God spoken to you in a quiet moment? Have you ever felt like Anna? What verse has helped you through silence? Your comment might be the message someone else needs. Let's be a community of faith that listens and encourages one another. Stay with us. If this video touched you, please like, share, and subscribe. We have more stories, testimonies, and real-life faith journeys coming every week. Because we believe faith that moves is faith that speaks, listens, and never lets go. See you in the next story. God bless you. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever felt like God was silent, but now you believe he's still speaking, comment below, God is still speaking and I'm listening. Let's fill the comments with faith and hope for others to read and be encouraged. And if you want more stories that strengthen your faith, like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it with someone who needs to hear God's voice today. This is Faith That Moves, where every story is a reminder that God is closer than we think.